Okay. Next question, or will comment on in my group is from Phoenix. She says that the hardest part about rebuilding yourself out of the narcissist is breaking the trauma bond. Okay, yes. That's really huge and really loaded and really full. So I said, can you be more specific? And I'm going to read, she gave me like a small paragraph. I'm going to read it here too. It's hard to explain. I can equate it to crawling through glass on my hands and knees. It was the wanting and longing for him, knowing he was the devil himself, knowing he was destroying me when he was around, missing the fake, even though I knew the real man. Our last and final breakup broke me in 1,000 pieces, and yet I craved his presence. The mental torment was something I never want to feel again. And I said, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to do a video. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here so I can read it. Okay. It was the wanting and longing for him, knowing he was the devil himself, knowing he was destroying me when he was around. Okay, so this person, so this is what I mean about the narcissist. Because they operate, we all operate from a wounded inner child. Like, we all do some of that because that person needs resolution that they never got. So it's like they are pulling all the levers. Okay, but the wounded inner child and the narcissist is doing it in such an, that person is going to such an extreme with the compensation and stuff like that. Like when they're trying to make up for how bad they feel, they go to such an extreme that they really, they have you, living a life that you never thought you'd live. To put it plainly. Knowing he was the devil himself and knowing he was destroying me. Yeah. Okay. So he's got you wrapped up thinking that you're stuck with him, you're not going to do any better than him, or did. You said the final breakup, so you got that part over with, and I'm glad, because the final breakup is always the hard, so, can be the most, can be the biggest one, right? Because it is. But because the narcissist's inner child is running the show, they can have you feeling guilty about leaving because they have you thinking that you're abandoning a child, and you are. There's no nice way to put that. You are abandoning a child. You're abandoning the inner child of theirs that didn't get the love or the respect or the attention or the whatever that kid is so desperate for. But because the narcissist turns it around completely, and they just turn it inside out and say, well, okay, so the only way to get away from feeling this bad is to change my whole damn reality and everyone else's. And they make up for it by the like when people say like the list of narcissistic traits, one of the top ones is the feelings or like carrying themselves like they feel like they're better than everybody else. The feelings of grandiosity, and that's, when you think you're better than everyone else, like to such an extreme extent. And they do that because it's a protective mechanism. So they've got you, so they're going to have, once they pick out your weaknesses, and once they pick out your dreams and your aspirations and things that you really want, and the things that you wish you had in a partner and all this kind of stuff, once they pick that out and they can smell it like a shark, and they sniff it out and they say, oh, okay, I'm going to build on this, because they figure it out, because unfortunately a lot of them are really good at psychological shit, to the point where it's a damn shame that they don't put that to use helping people. Instead they just destroy people with it. So that's just my 2 cents. But anyway, once they figure out, they dig into your life and into your mind, and they figure out like what you want and what you have your heart set on, and they will let you know that you can have all of that and more if you just do what they want and play their little game. And it's like y'all sign a contract together. It's like y'all sign some agreement where you're gonna, just hand over your damn life to this person, and they're gonna give you whatever it is you've had your heart set on this entire time, for however many years or whatever. Whether that's a job, a career, a hobby that you've always wanted to try, you've always wanted to learn how to sing, you've always wanted to be around prestigious people, you want to lose weight and get fit and be a fitness instructor or whatever it is that your goal is. Once they figure it out, they're going to build a damn fantasy world around it and say, yeah, you could have that. I could help you with that, blah, blah, blah. So you've got all this shit about your life and yourself wrapped up in this person, thinking that if you lose this person, you're going to lose your fucking self. And because of that, you're making a huge ass sacrifice. You're just like taking a chunk out of your chest and just, throwing it away when you tell that person, okay, I can't fool with you anymore. This is too much. You're gonna have to get out of my life. They've got you thinking that that's going to be a real big damn loss once they walk away. It's actually not. You're just going to lose all your frustrations and anxiety. And then you got to deal with the CPTSD afterwards, but we can get to that. But that they have you thinking, and I don't know the times I would look at somebody and think to myself, and I remember, I could still hear it now. It doesn't, it doesn't feel the same when I hear it in my head, but like thinking back on those memories and like thinking about how I thought at that time. I remember looking at a particular one and thinking to myself, I'm never going to get anybody better than him. I better not fuck this up. I better not mess this up because he's the best, and I'm never going to get anybody like this ever again. I'll never get anybody this good ever again. And they do that because they build that world where all your dreams can come true if you just do what the hell they say. And that's no way to live, but that's how they do it. And they enmesh with you, and they mold with you, and they like join identities with you, because they don't have much of an identity on their own, because their identity is that hurt child, and it hurts them so much to feel that and to deal with that. And they won't go to therapy. They God forbid they admit something's wrong with them. So they won't go to therapy and get help. So instead, they just turn it inside out and say, well, I'm just going to be, the best thing out there, and to hell with everyone else, since no one cared about me when I was 10 years old or whatever. And that's their mindset. Deep down underneath, that's how they're operating. A lot of times they don't even realize that shit, like, because they're so damn wrapped up in their own glory, like, or trying to make up for it. And they try to have this, because really the narcissist is really self-hating. And a lot of people that hate themselves, you can pick it out in small things that they do, like little things they say about themselves or whatever, and it's more, I don't want to say natural, because self-hate's not natural, but it's more, down to earth. But the narcissist does it, they go so extreme with the compensating and the making up for it, that they play a psychological game with you that most people don't know how to play. And they have you thinking that if you cut ties, damn it, good luck to you, because you're never going to have this again, and I can't tell you the times I've had women crying to me, telling me, well, what if I never, well, yeah, but what if you do? You have no idea what's ahead of you in your life. You know what I mean? You have no idea what's out there. You're not going to know until it happens. And the only way to even predict it would be, besides tarot cards, would be to align yourself energetically and tell yourself, nah, you know what, the possibilities are endless. What I want is out there. Period. And we start small, especially when you do the 12 weeks with me. We go over all that stuff. I don't know how I squeeze into 12 weeks, but I do. So it's an intense 12 weeks, but it's a good 12 weeks, because we go over all of it. But they, and the reason that that he is the devil himself, as you put it, is because you see that he's hurting you, and you see that his habits and his behavior and what he does is in fact bad for you, because there's a part of you that's trying to bring your attention to that and say, hey, look, this isn't good. You need to look at this and address it. And we're not going to have this next time around. This isn't good. Your nervous system is saying, okay, this is enough. And wanting him and longing for him. So the reason you're feeling that way is, number one, he's got you wrapped up in the fantasy thing, where you're going to have, what your greatest dreams, your greatest desires, whatever, so long as you do it through him. But but on top of that, the whole reason the two of y'all have come together in the first place is because your partners throughout your life show you, they show up in your life to show you what you haven't sorted out with your parents. I know that's a pain in the ass, like it really is, but I can't tell you after the soul search and the things I've done to figure out what the hell happened to me and like what my problem was all those times and all those years. Just the issues and the similarities. And I realized that, especially with my father, he gave me a good life and he did his best with me. But we had some tumultuous times and, really. And I got the same behavior from boyfriends and I thought, what the hell, and it took me forever to realize that. It took me so long to realize, well, damn, this is just like Dad. And finally I said, you know what? Why is this just like Dad? Why do I keep running into Dad? And, because I'd be out late with some boyfriend, arguing and shit like that, and then come home and argue with Dad about being out late, like, so, you're gonna meet your parents one way or another, the good and the bad. And, in his case, I would say you probably have, there's probably something, from your early life that your father or some male figure in your life did that was cruel and wasn't right. And you've held on to that because it hurt and nobody rectified it. No one thought enough of you to fix it or intervene or make it better or get you an apology or whatever it was that needed to be done. And you just were left, la-di-da to go through life carrying that. And that was wrong. And they let you go on, just like whatever, and it just never got addressed, never got fixed. And so now you've got boyfriends who are pulling the same shit, that some other man has pulled in your earlier in your life, maybe in different ways. It'll come in different ways sometimes, but it can give you the same feeling because the child, especially in early life, when they know that they're totally reliant on the parent, like with me and my father, he had some problems with getting angry, and that was terrorizing for me. That was really scary. That was a terror for me, and I remember being scared a lot of the time, and just thinking to myself, why is he doing this? I need him, but why is he doing this to me? Why is it moments where it's really beautiful, and which were like few and far between, but most of the rest of the time it's just like I'm walking on eggshells, and my boyfriends had me feeling the same exact way. And it would take more than just a video. I couldn't just like do a video on it, on every single detail, because I'd have to go one-on-one with you and like figure out what your story is and go from there. So it's hard to just like explain it in a video without knowing your backstory. But the narcissist is gonna use all that. Those are the tools of the trade, and they pick up on where you're hurting and what your needs are, and they use it against you in ways you wouldn't ever imagine. And that's how they have control over you. And then they'll distract you with other shit, like whatever it is that you like, whatever hobby you have or whatever it is that you enjoy. They'll dangle that in front of you to distract you from how damn miserable you are. And it's just something they do. And he was missing the fake, even though I knew the real man. Yeah, you miss the facade, because I think if I understand what you're saying right, you miss the facade, even though you know it's fake. You still miss it because it's so much better than the real. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Yeah. That's how they do. The final breakup broke me in 1,000 pieces, and yet I craved his presence. The mental torment is something I never want to feel again. Yeah. Because they have you thinking that everything that you want in life and all your needs will be met through them, and that no one else can do what they can do, and they manage that because once they come together with you and like they get to know you and they get to know your personality and the things you have your heart set on and the things you like and the things you desire from life and your needs and stuff like that, they mirror that shit because, like I say, they don't have any real inner identity, so they're just going to mesh with you because that's how they use all your shit against you. And once they mesh with you and figure out all your dreams and things like that, they're going to say, oh yeah, well, I can get you that, blah, blah, whatever. So once they have you thinking that they're perfect, when really they're just figuring out what you want. They're just figuring it out. They're reading you like a book. And they're just going to repeat shit back to you. Like in school where it's not really about intellect or IQ. It's more about memorizing shit and repeating it back. And then you pass the test. You see what I mean? There's no real depth there. It's just memorizing the stuff and then answering the questions on the test and getting an A because you memorized what was said and what was taught. And that's it. There's no IQ there. It's just good memory. It's like that. Do you see what I mean? So they don't have their own personality, or they don't have that would be in place of the IQ, right? So they don't have their own personality and their own identity. So they're just going to mesh with you and just say what you say and repeat all your shit back to you. And then they're going to have you thinking that there's some, mystical, rare creature that's never going to be found or seen by the human race, and you found them and you got them. So when they leave, it's going to be heart-wrenching and it's going to be soul-crushing and it's going to be everything in between, because how are you going to replace that? Well, you can replace it with somebody genuine who actually has their own damn identity but appreciates you enough to go help you enjoy your life and mold with you in healthier ways instead of just copying you so that you can get obsessed with them. You know what I mean? Because that's the goal. And they're very good at it. They're very good at it. For being so damn crazy, they're very good at what they do. It's the weirdest thing. It's the damnedest thing. Like, there are people that are like, seriously mentally crazy, clinically crazy, but they're so fucking good at certain things. Just weird how that works. It's just weird. And narcissist is in that lot to me because of everything you said here. Is exactly what they do. So that's what he's done is mirror the shit that you need. That's all he's done, is paying attention to what you said and what you conveyed and what you expressed about yourself and what you want from life and from a partner. And he just said, oh, well, I can do that, and just repeated it back to you. and it's really I don't want to say humbling because that kind of gives the wrong impression, but it's humbling, for lack of a better way to put it, when you figure that out, that's what they've done. It's just like, well, shit. But that doesn't mean that you can't get past it, and it sure as hell doesn't mean you can't find somebody who actually can do all that shit for you genuinely and sincerely and legitimately. And because there are people out there that are raised right and or have gone to therapy, made the decision to help themselves or take better care of themselves and their emotional and mental health, and to do right and to get better, and to find a partner who is aligned with that. So but I understand it, but it's just because they reel you in. They just reel you in with that mirroring shit. That's how they do it. So you just have to be careful, like, when you are around people, pay attention to the differences in y'all's personality, and when they start saying shit that sounds too much like you, or if they don't talk a lot, and they don't talk a lot about themselves especially, and they'd rather just hear about you, and you find yourself talking about yourself a whole lot more, and that like dominates the conversation, it's because they're encouraging it. And they know that you're distressed, and that you need, support and things like that, and you need to be heard. And they're going to sit there and listen to every word you say, and they're going to take notes, and they're going to repeat it all back to you in a way that makes them sound like they're some kind of a savior. And you're going to say, oh yeah, that's exactly what I need. And when really they're just using your words, and they're using it to hurt you, because that's just how they do. And they're really good at it. And I hate that. I hate that so much, but that's what they do. So, yeah, and it sucks because now it feels like, and I never want to feel that way again. Yeah, it feels like now you have to have your guard up in such a way that it's like, you'd be just like a walking monstrosity with all the shields and the, Edward Scissorhands knives just ready to fight. You know what I mean? Like, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. The last one, when I got rid of the last, doozy after him, I carried weapons on me all the time. I was watching videos on YouTube about self-defense and how to throw a punch and all kinds of shit. Like, I was doing all of it. I would look for a black truck at every every red light. When I did see one, my heart would race. I was always thinking he was going to be parked at the house when I pulled up, shit like that. And it really lingers, and I didn't have any help regulating my nervous system. I had to figure all that shit out by myself, but I did. Well, I had some help. I did have help from a therapist who introduced me to, she had reintroduced me to some things that I had neglected. And one of them was listening to certain music or even Hertz tones that really calm your brain down, and it's good for your nerves. And we can go over some of that too, but it's just, there's so much that has to be redone in rebuilding yourself, because they do so much damage. But mainly, you can be rebuilt, and you can be rebuilt better, and you can be more prepared, and you won't fall for that shit again, and you'll be whole, and you'll be complete, and like you were before. I mean, you were whole and complete before you met the narcissist, but afterwards you'll have a better understanding of yourself and why you let that shit happen in the first place. And that's one of the biggest things about recovery, is why you let it happen to start with. And you let it happen to start with because something about that behavior was familiar to you, and your nervous system was like, yeah, we know this. And you just let it happen. And it gets all of us. It sure as hell got my ass, so don't feel bad. I got bamboozled too. It's the whole reason I'm here now. So they really do get the best of us, but that doesn't have to stop you, and it doesn't have to change you or any of that. I'm still the same personality I was 10 years ago. Like, I don't even care. I'm the same son of a bitch. I really am. I'm just smarter. I'm just wiser, now than I was. But it took a lot. It took a lot of shit, to get me to where I am now. But and a lot of soul searching, and a lot of books and therapy help, and and coaches, life coaches, and everything in between to figure myself out. But I did, and I was determined to get better and to do better. And now I have, my life is just peaceful, and I have wholesome people in my life, and I only attract people who are good enough for me, and that's it. And that's the only way to be. For me, it's been the only thing that's, that's the only way to live that's worth it. So, but you can do better, and you can get better, and there is a reason behind it. The narcissist, when they come into your life, because they're so extreme in everything they do, the extremity of what they're doing is there. It's present because it's got to show you something that you've been ignoring in yourself. And the extremity and the degree of the problems you're having is to point out the extremity and the degree of the issue you're having on the inside that you need to address, whatever that may be. So, to put it in perspective, like, you can have little scuffles and little arguments with people about dumb shit, whatever, and think about it later, and figure out, why you had that argument, why that triggered you or whatever. And then, like, the big blow up stuff like this, that's really crushing and everything, is bringing your attention, or is trying to bring your attention to something inside you that is crushing you from the inside, that you just haven't had a chance to look at yet. So that's what, it's a pain in the ass, but that's what partners do. They don't, whether they intend to or not, usually they don't, because they have no idea what they're doing. When they're conveying something, they know what they're, people know what they're arguing about, but what I mean is, in the grand scheme of things, like, when somebody comes into your life to teach you a lesson or whatever, that person doesn't show up and say, well, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. They just show up and, like, do their thing, and you have to be noble enough and intuitive enough to sit down with yourself and say, okay, you know, why is this really bothering me? Why is this really bothering me? What's in me? What cord is being plucked in here that's never been plucked before, you know? And you just have to look within, you know. But that's why, like I say, the programs with me, you know, if you're interested in that, we do a deep dive so we can figure out what in the world is going on, and we resolve that shit, inner child work, all of it. So but yeah, that's what they do. They do the mirror thing, and that's why it feels like you need them, is because they've shown you what you wanted, but it's only after they figured out what you wanted. So just keep that in mind. And then, but once you sort that kind of thing out, you'll never fall for that shit again. Never. And will certainly never settle for it. So so that'll be a thing of the past. But I hope that answers your question and clears some things up for you. So, and thanks for being active in the group as well, because you're new in there. So, but you're doing really good, and you know, keep up the good work. And thanks for trusting me. And welcome to my little world. And I'm glad to have you. And that's about it. So, I hope that helps. And thanks for listening.